Immersive technologies for us have already had a significant impact, and it's still such an early journey in that. We think about using this technology for rehab, for using it in pain and anxiety distraction during operations, or even with our staff groups for improving education, or more importantly, their well-being. Removing somebody from the busy clinical space for a short time into one that evokes relaxation and calmness can be very powerful. Whether it's recreating difficult to train in environments, or even this year with the pandemic, upskilling staff but still making sure we retain the importance of the human in the journey, seeing different perspectives, and recreating scenes of the past that brings a deep sense of connectivity and joy, particularly for those that may be feeling isolated. And when you look at healthcare like that, it goes far beyond walls, which is what it should do. My name is Nick Perez. I'm the lead for learning technologies here at Torbay Hospital, and over the last few years have had a remit and a heavy interest in the development of virtual reality interventions in the healthcare space. And I consider it our role at Torbay to help inform the conversation around the value of this technology, both with staff and patients. And we do this through co-design, collaboration and partnerships, and run a number of projects. So let's start with Patient VR, and this is a project we set up a few years ago to understand the importance and the significance that non-technical skills have on the patient journey and for our performance as clinicians and healthcare staff. Things like eye contact, empathetic gesture, effective communication. So this idea of embodiment, of seeing these environments from the patient perspective, allowing us to understand the things that we sometimes miss and take for granted, the small things that can make big differences. And we expand on this interest and need to reflect on the humanities and empathy through utilising the powerful narrative-driven and body labs experiences, placing our staff and trainees in the perspectives of those whom we care for. This really was quite a simple project to create and set up, filming from the patient perspective 360 videos, and then allowing our staff to look around and virtually put themselves in the shoes of the patient, and starting with very accessible technology. So the lowest fidelity of virtual reality, allowing our workforce to get used to this interactive modality in the classroom. And 360 video now being used in so many different ways, from training procedures to understanding difficult environments and breaking those down. And where appropriate, actually training our clinicians to be content creators and having that creative ownership of the training scenarios they make. We also have a VR lab here embedded at Torbay Hospital. It's sponsored by Health Education England and allows us to look at some of the new technologies, the hardware and the software involved in the virtual reality space. The lab also offers us a platform and space to co-design some use cases and custom experiences. For example, we've been creating virtual community and home-based settings where those environments play such a big factor in understanding the patient's backstory. We've also been looking at team and workforce-based activities such as critical communication and team working skills, utilising gamification.
There's one that's a stick with like a basket hanging on it, a side basket.
In this example that utilises a popular VR video game, a team must defuse a bomb within 5 minutes. We debrief each scenario to understand the critical communication that's occurred, and we've been running this for 2 years now, and it's been a really effective way to bring teams together. There are other obvious educational uses of this technology, such as bringing things to life from the textbook. In this example, virtual anatomy.
I'm just blown away by the whole experience, really. Very often we're talking about cases with the consultants, and we're talking about them, but having the facility to walk around the anatomy and actually pinpoint where we're planning on operating, structures to be avoiding, things to be careful of, would just be next level, really.
And these experiences and technologies have become more featured in our open days and our outreach with schools and colleges and universities as we start to consider what future careers in healthcare might look and feel like. Virtual well-being has become one of the most important areas of our work, finding suitable interventions to support the well-being of our staff groups and of course our patients too.
You are about to follow a 10-minute guided meditation. By following my voice, you will be guided on a journey that will help lead you to a state of deep relaxation, where you can change the effect fatigue has been having on you and learn ways to relieve the unpleasant symptoms.
And yes, that is David Attenborough. We worked with academic partners at Birmingham University and Bob Stone to create a relaxation scene for staff, which has been particularly useful and well utilised during this year's pandemic.
Start by breathing in gently and out slowly, and continue to do this as I guide you.
Bringing the therapeutic benefits of the outside and nature into the clinical spaces has been really beneficial to us. We've used nature scenes like this to look at pain distraction and anxiety reduction for our patients as well as our staff. We work very carefully to make sure these are appropriately used, and when they do, they sometimes create a bit of magic.
Nick on intensive care was absolutely awesome. Bearing in mind he is in intensive care, so we can't forget why he's there, but his engagement and his activity and the miles he covered with his SAT still being 98% at the end was absolutely stupendous.
Oh, that is magic, isn't it, eh? Oh.
It's a little bit emotional because it's like something he built for a PhD that was just designed to be used in one sort of environment has suddenly been put into a new one, and to see it going flawlessly with no issues and all the issues that we have had in the QE not happening here, it's kind of, it's a kind of strange feeling. You feel a bit like, elation, so yeah, I'm pretty happy.
There's this growing crossover, this applicability from what we've learned in healthcare into social impact, into our communities, tourism, heritage. Whether it's recreating a scene from history for somebody, or whether it's showing a location as it once looked, it's all really about trying to make a positive difference for somebody, an impact. And it's really exciting that a technology, when it's considered and used in the right way, can bring all those things together. So we bring the influences and the benefits of the outside in, and in return we take our knowledge and the things that we've learned out. And it creates this wonderful opportunity to continually engage, to understand different perspectives, to understand the multidisciplinary approach that has to be taken with any new technology, really. And more than anything else, it tells us that healthcare belongs to everybody, and we all have an investment within it. We all have a story to tell. And the most important thing is that we make sure those stories are heard. And the technology, well, it's just another way to enable that. Sharing, collaboration, and human-focused, human-centered design is always going to be key.